Welcome to the Music is My Life podcast from Berkeley Online. I'm your host, Pat Healy, and take note of Arooj Aftab. After her cover of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah went viral in the early aughts, Arooj took some classes with none other than Berkeley Online. Yes, that is a plug. And she liked it so much that she moved all the way from Pakistan to Boston to become a full-time student of Berklee College of Music, where she studied music production and engineering. Now, more than a decade later, she's a full-time singer and composer and nominated for 2 Grammy Awards. One for Best New Artist alongside the likes of Phineas, Olivia Rodrigo, and Glass Animals. And another for Best Global Music Performance for her song Mohabbat, which was also included in President Barack Obama's 2021 summer playlist. Not too shabby, Berkeley Online alum. So she lives in Brooklyn now, and that has played a big part in her musical development, and it also plays a small role in this interview. Arooj lives next door to a school which was out for recess while we were recording, so that is why you'll hear some faint screaming in the background. Without further ado, Arooj, please discuss how you first learned that music would be your life.
I picked up the guitar in high school and was kind of teaching myself how to play it and just composing these really obscure, long, almost like Morton Feldman type music. I think I was 14. And then, you take your guitar to school and everybody's like, play Wonderwall and play With or Without You. And then I'd be like, oh shit, okay. And so I'd learn the chords. And then they'd be like, why are you singing? And I was like, oh my God. So then I was like, fine, fuck it, I'll sing. Okay, Jesus, this is what we're supposed to do now. And it's just there's the aspect of picking up an instrument and trying to be a musician even at a very young age, and then the public just haranguing you and wanting a performance. I'm glad that happened anyway, because I realized I was like, oh, I can sing. So singing kind of came second to me. I wanted to just be like a moody, weird guitar player.
And did you get a chance to play with anybody during this period of learning and growth, or was it just you were the one with the guitar who learned Wonderwall?
I was the one with the guitar who learned Wonderwall, and then later on, when I was 17 or 18, I got together with 3 guys, and we kind of had a garage band, and we were kind of doing Seven Nation Army covers and stuff. But yeah, that was, it's kind of typical high school stuff.
Were you guitar and voice?
It was guitar and voice, but it was that whole period was also really quite short. I mostly enjoyed just being by myself with the guitar.
Did anybody in your family play instruments as well?
My dad sort of dabbled a bit and would have a vocal train coach sort of person come over, and he would have a tabla player come over, and so he would kind of jam out to the songs that he liked, but not really, no.
I know there's a lot to the origin story of you doing Hallelujah and that going viral. Tell me about the Leonard Cohen cover and how that came about, and what that meant for you.
I was listening to a lot of different types of music and then found Jeff Buckley, and then his Grace album and stuff, and then was just really obsessed and was just listening to him a lot, and then sort of backtracked to what he was inspired by and found Leonard Cohen, and then was insanely in the Leonard Cohen wormhole for a while, and then just kind of sat with it for I think a year, just really digging the vibe. And then I was just kind of playing covers and stuff in my bedroom a lot, just sort of singing things and sort of trying out what things sound like and sort of resonating with music in general, just on a personal level. Hallelujah just felt really, the words kind of really resonated in a way, and just felt I don't know, it just happened, in a very 1999 type of way. Just kind of in a pre YouTube and social media era, just sort of just doing something that feels very personal and normal, and then it just goes on LimeWire or whatever it was at the time.
Did you have any expectation whatsoever that it would create such a ripple?
Not at all. I think I was very, very much more like sort of looking inwards at that time, like just an angsty teenager, like not really. I was really just sort of making music for myself.
And were you taking lessons or were you still just teaching yourself?
No, no lessons. Yeah, it was just.
Wow. And when you eventually decided you wanted to talk to your parents about going to Berkeley, was there anything else that was the option B?
There was no option B at all. It was the only school that I had applied to. Sometimes there are interviews where people are like, "Oh, your parents allowed you to go to Berkeley." I was like, it's nothing like that. It was literally like there was no permission seeking. It was just basically like, I am gonna go here, and this is just, I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing, and that's what's up.
And how often did your family come to visit, if at all, or was it just graduation that they came to?
They did not. I mean, my older brother was in Chicago also at university, so he would come to Boston a couple of times. But yeah, aside from that, my parents did not make the journey ever.
So you did that spring semester at Berkeley Online in 2005. What made you decide to do the online option in addition to the campus?
Well, for someone who like at that time, now it's very different in Pakistan. It's just like there's so much, and I think to some degree, to some extent, because of people like me who started really early and kind of set an example for what can be done, right? Like there's so much music going on in the city, and there's so many women, and there's just so much like innovation and experimentation. But at the time, there was not really like anything happening, and so it was really, really intimidating to even imagine music education and what that looks like in an organized bachelor's degree form, and also like just for someone who hasn't had any theory or like kind of looking at Berkeley and being like, wow, it's like rolling admissions, and people from all ages and from all backgrounds can just like show up there. People are coming from conservatories or like jazz schools in Greece and like God knows what the fuck. So I was just like, holy shit, I need to learn something before I go over there. I was like, let me just get some basics. And so that's where Berkeley Online came in handy quite a bit. I took some elementary keyboard and some production and engineering and some theory, and that was really kind of what set me up to give me just like some confidence,
Right.
to attend the actual school itself, not just show up like a complete noob.
So you're there and you're immersed in this world and but what types of music were you engaging in at that point?
Well, the jazz curriculum was pretty amazing, and it's just like I really can't believe that I like my laptop and my iTunes from those 5 years got fried and lost, because there's so many amazing sort of recordings that like teachers are sharing with you and like students are sharing with each other, and it's just like this sort of amazing library of stuff that you have. And I think that's not going to happen again, because I don't know how people are sharing music now, but it's all just like, yeah, look at whatever's on Spotify, or here's a YouTube link. But there was like a real sort of exchange of files going on between in 2005 and 6 and 7, and so I feel really fucked up about the fact that like I don't have that, and it just got deleted. Because there were some real gems in there. There was some real like there were some renditions of standards, and like Ella and Billy and Miles and stuff that just aren't on the internet. So there was like this huge sort of jazz immersive music, and then I was hanging out. I had like different waves, but for the most part, there was like sort of Argentinian, Cypriot, Turkish, Australian, Lebanese. Like there's sort of like an international crowd that I sort of fell in, and that was really fun. And that's kind of where most of my who you'd see me hanging out with for the most part.
So when you were at school, how did you find your way musically? And I'm fascinated by your progression of recorded output because it definitely shows, I mean, to me, from an outsider perspective, I don't know, it might show something different to you, but it shows to me kind of a real development and a real kind of like finding the ideal voice and ideal arrangements. Each album is a step forward and closer to the actuality. It feels like that. But tell me if I'm wrong, first of all, and tell me how your musical development at Berkeley was and finding your voice.
I think at Berkeley it was secondary because the MPNE program was so demanding. And yeah, you better not. I was like, I'm just gonna, I know how to sing and I think I'm okay, so I'm just not gonna like really challenge the major, and just I'm gonna like focus on being solid at jazz theory or learning as much as I can there, and then focusing on the major itself, and I'll just like have voice as an instrument instead of guitar or whatever, so that I can survive this.
Right.
And not to diminish like the vocal department, it was really amazing and I've learned so much from that experience. But the development of my music really happened like through parties and through hanging out with all the sort of the community that Berkeley has to offer, just by the community that we built at Berkeley just by all being there. And it came later, it came like after sort of kicking around in New York, and it sort of, like as you said, you can hear like I just didn't even have the tools or the like really I was still developing the language in how to really express to my collaborators what this music that I hear in my head should sound like on paper, because as a vocalist who is a composer who isn't joining the jam with an instrument in their hand, that is really really difficult. And people misunderstand female vocalist composers across the board all the time to this day, because they're like, if you're not holding an instrument and if you're not a man, you're not composing. And it's like, yes, I am. Like and sort of finding your footing and finding your space and finding that language takes time. And it's only after almost 2 decades that I've been able to kind of have that footing. And that's why it's also like for me, like who I collaborate with is so important to me, and I really build a relationship to go and make sure that they understand this. They understand this dynamic here. It's like this is not coming out of you, it's coming out of me. I am telling you're playing because I'm in a very non-linear way. I am i am explaining to you what the compositions are. So that trajectory took a while, and between that, there's all this music that sort of shows that.
It's like James Brown, really. He never played
Yeah.
anything, but he just told everyone what to do, but it was his composition. So you mentioned New York, where you went after graduating. Is that where you are now?
Yeah.
That's where the wildness is happening outside the street that I that I can hear.
Yeah, I live in this really beautiful brownstone in Bed-Stuy, but it's right across a school. So it sounds like a school during the day,
Yeah,
or I guess it's like recess right now.
yeah.
It's like it's amazing how much children can scream.
It is.
Sometimes I'm like, were we screaming this much when we were kids? I guess maybe we were. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's why people who find music because it's not socially acceptable to just scream like that. So, um, I really want to touch upon what you said about collaborators because that's so important and so pivotal to understanding your music, I feel like, because the one thing that I hear in the most recent release is just patience. There's just a patience and comfort amongst the musicians to me. I mean, again, I could be totally wrong, but tell me about finding this group.
I really enjoy like having like a community of collaborators who like surprise and inspire me and bring like a freshness to the music that isn't what's written on the paper. And so I'm gonna continue to sort of like ebb and flow with that aspect of it. Like have different people hop on, but like for the most part, the core collaborators, it's also important to have like grounding harmonic instrument players. It's just like a basics session kind of. So like have your guitar and bass down kind of. And I mean, to me, it's like the collaborations, the people that I collaborate with, like I really need them to be the sort of personality that transcends their instrument themselves. It's like, Maeve Gilchrist is not, to me, it's like, wow, she really constantly challenges the capability of the harp in her playing. You know what I mean? And that's like extremely valuable to me. Like Gyan Riley plays the nylon acoustic guitar in, like, he has so much range that it's like, if I take you somewhere, will you be able to go with me? And that's kind of what I need from my collaborators. It's like, we're just going to go who knows where. And you have to kind of be open and kind of almost like chamber-ish in a way, so we can explore like the boundless situation and then sort of land on something that feels good.
Tell me about, though, that time when you did first move to New York. And so you had your degree in MP&E, and were you getting jobs as an engineer?
It was actually pretty hard because it was 2008, and the recession had just occurred. Also, like, studios in New York were just shutting down left, right, and center, and it was just like, oh fuck. Was not even getting like a waitressing job, like forget working at studios. But I somehow found myself at the same time, like YouTube and online content and video, like sort of web video, started picking up quite a bit. And so I found myself like in post-production rooms doing audio for this sort of like web video content that was like, suddenly everyone pivoted to video, and it was so great. So I caught that wave just luckily, and then just sort of stayed in post-production audio. I've been doing it for the last god knows how many years it's been.
Yeah, have you finally quit your day job?
I have.
That's exciting.
No longer doing that, which is really freeing and scary, but feels super great right now.
When was your last day?
I think it was last month or something.
Really? Oh my gosh, I thought it was like for preparing Vulture Prince and all that.
Well, no, I worked at Genius for about 5 years, and they've survived through the pandemic. But then, like, just a couple of months ago, they were acquired by another company. They just couldn't really cut it anymore, and they laid everybody off. And it was kind of the moment, like 2 months ago, where I was like, I'm signing to Universal, and there's like so much touring happening next year. Like, what am I going to do? How can I need to tell these guys that we need to create a different situation. And then we just all got laid off, and I was like, oh, okay, so that solves that.
Right.
So,
And you could collect too, right?
and exactly, yeah, and then you can feel like, I was like, wow, I feel like a trust fund baby. This is amazing.
So that's interesting. I didn't know you worked for Genius.
Yeah,
Wow, I love that site.
it's amazing. It's great. Yeah, it's a really good, super, super resource for a lot of things.
I imagine it will be interesting to you as you move further away from it and you see probably fans inputting their own interpretations of your lyrics, and having been there before as a day job, it could prove pretty interesting. But so you're working there up until recently, and tell me about the circumstances that led to you doing your debut, Bird Underwater.
Just that's what we live for, right? Like, we have our day jobs, and then what we really want to do is put out music and make the music that will one day support us, in reverse. And so Bird Underwater, I mean, I've always been very, 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 like, my music has been my career, and my day job has been like, I'm just doing this to support this other thing, and it's always been that way, very clear for me. So it's like, yeah, I'm an artist. I have to put out a record, and then I have to put out another one, and then, so that's kind of been the vibe. And so just like any artist, I was like, okay, this is going to be my first record. These are the songs that are in my live set rotation, and let's record them.
Tell me when you had that kind of revelation. Like, did the revelation of just needing to put it out, because like we'd spoken about, you'd worked in engineering for a while, and that was what your degree was in. But when did you kind of realize, like, I need to express this stuff on my own?
I think it's clear as an artist who is trying to kind of, who wants to be an artist with longevity and growth, and you have to immortalize your moment and your body of work by recording it and putting it out so that then you can move on to the next thing. I think it's a process that is really important, because otherwise you can just be swimming in a sea of music and collaborations and not have any anchor point. So I've always kind of known that. And it's like, of hell yeah. Like, if you aim to be that type of artist, you see everybody puts out records. You know, you put out a record, you put out another one, you put out another one. Alicia Keys has like what, like six? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like what are you doing if you don't know that you're supposed to do that?
Right. I love also how the last song on Bird Underwater is also one of the first songs on Vulture Prince, but in a different version. Tell me the thinking behind that.
Yeah, I love that too. I think it's really like a cute and cheesy thing, but that song just had like two versions. And I love both of them so much, and we never really got to play the sort of more fun one like too much, because we just sort of, after I put out Bird Underwater, I always with the band just played that like E major, E minor one. And I just couldn't really let it go. I was like, I really like this other version. I want to make it again. I want to sort of officialize it, crystallize it, immortalize it. So let's do that version. And Maeve just plays it so beautifully on the harp. So I was like, fuck it, let's do this. Let's put it out. It's going to be great. And then Darian, incredible violin player, he hopped on, and it was so worth it.
And what do you when you're doing your set lists, you have such a range in these three albums that I'd imagine it's tough to figure out a running order that makes sense, that flows and segues into one another.
Well, I've just been touring Vulture Prince quite just by itself, this year, and I think most of next year, same thing, just gonna only play Vulture Prince. And then we kind of have like encore songs from Bird Underwater. Siren Islands is just so obscure, and it's like that was my solo album that I just did with like synths and stuff, so I don't really like, what can you can't really revisit the same line like when you're doing like modular stuff, right? Because it's just like something is just happening, and it's never going to happen the same way twice. And so I don't really play the second record live.
So what was that what was this gaming project that I see out there? You have an album on.
Yeah, I compose music for a video game, and it's out there. It's like a doom jazz sort of soundtrack. It's kind of like this raccoon detective in Vancouver. It's like a bunch of sort of Russians in like Norway and Canada wrote this really dark but sort of comedic, interactive like adventure game. And it has this very, like, I mean, I guess when you think of like detective as the protagonist, you imagine immediately that the soundtrack will be jazz.
Right.
uh, but we did it in a really like, the way that, I mean, if you listen to the soundtrack, it's really like kind of, again, just like trying as much as possible to not meet your stereotype expectation. So yeah, it was really fun for me, because I love to do like super dark nonsense jazz virtually. Like, I don't get to do that in my own music, so that was really fun for me, and I hope I get to do more of that.
So let's talk more about Vulture Prince. And what is so interesting to me is what I spoke a little bit before with like the patience of all the musicians to just let the songs evolve with nobody's concerned about hurrying them up and getting to something. And then when you look at the lyrics, these songs just evolve so naturally and gradually. But then you look at the lyrics and they're so sparse. And it's almost like, wow, that's the only thing that's said in this song because been evolving for all this time. Tell me a little bit about that approach.
I really like to kind of have that approach. Like, that's kind of my thing, to use negative space as an instrument itself, and to be unhurried, and to kind of let everyone tell this, like, to let the music really feel like it's one with, like, the music itself is its own language, and it's really not like the lyrics and the vocalist are sort of, it's not a songwriter type of sound. It's like the song itself is telling you a story, and the solos, it's like take as much time as you need to set it up, to do your middle sort of like crescendo part, and then to also leave, like tell a complete story. It's not just 8 bars. And we won't be worried about this, and other things can happen over it. You know what I mean? It's like once, and it takes me a while to get the people to play the way that I'm saying this thing that I'm talking about, because everybody comes from like everyone is constantly in this sort of like construction, everywhere else in like all the other sort of projects that they do, that when collaborators come and play my music, they're like, oh, this is like so nice, like I am just chilling. You know what I mean? Like this feels really like I've taken a break from my day, and I love that. It's like you just get to be you, and we're all one, and we're using negative space a lot, and the words are minimal too, and I'm not really arresting your mind with like a very long story about something. It's just kind of like a couple of lines or a couple of verses, and a story is being told, but I'm also like repeating some of the phrases. It's like it all kind of goes together, and I love that about it. I spend a lot of time thinking about how that's going to happen.
Listening to this music, it feels like it takes a long time to get to that point that you were talking about, to get to that place where it just feels almost like something sacred that freezes time, you know?
Hmm.
So, how long does it take to, when you're working with all these musicians, to get to that mindset of the negative space and letting these things breathe?
It seems like Vulture Prince took about 4 years. So I hope that the next one doesn't take that long, but who knows? Bird Underwater took so many years. I mean, now I'm also, I've grown, I'm older, I have a better sense of what I like. Again, it's like, how do you communicate these things? How do you see in advance as the sort of music director or like producer of this thing? Like, it's only me who understands like the bigger picture. So I'm better at understanding that, and I'm better at seeing from afar like who will be able to come and pass the vibe check, you know?
Right, right. Am I wrong to assume that there is something that is sacred there, something that does feel like it's removed from time for you and the players?
I think they are, yeah. I think that I mean, at the risk of sounding like, I hope not sounding too self-important, uh, I think that this realm that we kind of have created is something that like you don't hear that often. It's jazz and it's American folk, and it also like is just sort of scratching the surface of pop, and it's like it feels really good that we've arrived here, and it's like not it's refreshing to have made a music that isn't really around that much. So I do feel like in that respect it's something, in the newness of it, it's sacred.
Who are other artists that take you to that place?
There's Gigi Masin, there's Anushka Shankar, there's Abby Lincoln, Max Roach. There's so many artists who I listen to, who kind of like compartmentalizedly take me there, and then I think like I, in my music, kind of like put them all in one pot and stir it around.
So you said, the excitement or gratitude about that other people recognize that there's something special here, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the Grammy nomination. So what are your thoughts about that? It seems, I mean, it's the Grammys, it's huge.
It's insane. It feels really good. Global music performance. I'm happy that they changed it from world music, and they added an extra category. Great job, thank God. We've been asking for this for a while, because it's like like world music category that sort of puts all of us into that, which also I hate, because it's like I'm part of the new. I'm here for 2 decades. I put together so many different genres. I'm literally like a musician of New York. It's like this music is not traditional, it is not world, it is actually really personal to my experience of like going to Berkeley, living in New York, hanging out with whoever, like Jamie Haddad to like, Maeve. It's like whatever, you know what I mean? Like so many of our experiences, and then they just become so like dumbed into this like world music category. And then the category itself is so it's so competitive because they'll put Burna Boy in that category next to Angelique Kidjo, and it's like, it's like that's not the same, you know.
Right.
But I'm really glad that they added another category, and the best new artist category is really shocking and insane, but also extremely validating. Exactly to my point, where it's just like I'm part of the hang, guys. You know, like this music is what a lot of people actually listen to, and it appeals to a lot of people in America. And so to be right next to Phineas and Doja Cat and these guys, because just as much as that's appealing to a lot of people, so is this stuff. You know, there are people who are listening to sensitive, beautiful music as well. That is not just bangers. You know, there's like millions of people who also find this appealing. So we can be in that same category, just the same way y'all put us in the same category, like in the global music category. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine that this is happening on this end as well. And I feel really great about it.
You've won a Grammy already, basically, with the Latin Grammy.
Right.
With Vulture Prince being what it is, and you know, you'd mentioned in some of the press material how you were going through a really difficult time, and this is a way of processing the grief. How does performing these songs nightly help with that process?
It's really great. I mean, I feel like from the beginning I always made music to soothe my own soul, kind of like a self therapy. And I feel like a lot of musicians start that way, and it's just still been that way for me. So that's just not going to change. It's just like such a music is so healing, and I think that I always really hold that close to me. And so performing every night, it hasn't worn out yet. You know, it's just every night feels so good to go out on stage and perform this music, and each performance is obviously like a little different, and it feels good. I really like the catharsis of it.
And as a listener, I think you will find Arooj's music just as cathartic. Check out her latest album, Vulture Prince, and tune into the 2022 Grammys whenever they may be. They are currently postponed indefinitely, but keep an eye out for listings to see when they are, because she is in the lineup for Best New Artist and Best Global Music Performance. Now, if you have found Arooj's story inspiring, you should know that you also can study with Berklee Online. Not only that, but as a listener of this podcast, you can try a Berklee Online course for $100 off the usual price. Just visit musicismylifepod.com and you will find all of the info you need right there. This episode was edited by Talia Smith, mastered by Jose David Vindis-Mora. All visual assets coordinated by Mike DeBenedictis. Social media by Brooke Larson. Web assistance courtesy of Mark Thomas, Steve Zimmerman, and Joe McDonough. Thanks to our video team who posts these episodes on YouTube 2 weeks after they premiere on podcast services. I wrote and recorded the Music Is My Life theme song, but the expert remixing comes courtesy of Lily Dickinson. Special thanks to Gabriel Reifer Cohen, Greg Fauscher, Judy Miller Silverman, Mick Jacobs, and you. Please leave a review on iTunes or leave us 5 stars on the Spotify app so that more terrific listeners like you can find us. Stay inspired, listeners, and talk soon.